This here is a cylinder head temperature or CHT sensor for my van, and this is the broken one that I've removed. Today I'll show you how to find out if your CHT sensor actually needs replacing, and then I'll run you through the steps in order to do so. So clearly my CHT sensor is broken because I'm holding it right here, but how might you know that it's broken when you don't have it in your hand? Well, the first and most obvious sign is that your temperature gauge in your dashboard is not reading anything, it's sitting at 0. Now that could mean that nothing's heating up, but if you've been on a fairly long journey and it's still sat at 0, then it's likely the CHT sensor that's faulty or completely broken. Without the temperature sensor, the fans come on automatically to try and make sure the engine's cool, because the van doesn't know how hot or cold the engine is, so the fans just come straight on. So the CHT sensor can be found on, you guessed it, the cylinder head, but there's a few things that need to be removed in order to have the right access. So the first thing we need to remove is the airbox, and to do that we need to disconnect the mass airflow sensor, the MAF. So the little red lever here that you pull up, and then you can take that sensor off. Next we need to disconnect the air intake hose. The other end of that goes down towards the turbo, but we only need to take this end off. That's going to allow us to pull the airbox out. So disconnect the air intake hose. You want an 8mm socket. You can use a flathead screwdriver on the end over here, but I mean, you're attempting this job. You're watching this video, I assume, so you can attempt this repair, and you need sockets for other things. So a prerequisite is you have a socket set. So use the socket instead of the flathead screwdriver. It's much easier. Extension piece on, clip that on, and we're good to go. So it's this one here we're disconnecting or loosening off. And then this should just lift out. And while you got this out, you may as well open it up and check your air filter and see if it needs replacing. In order to open that one up, you can use the same 8mm socket, and there are 3 of them by the looks of it. Now mine should be alright. I replaced this a year ago, but then maybe you're meant to replace them every year. I can't remember. 1. 2, and then spin them round, and here's the 3rd one. Right, then we'll lift that off. Now it's looking alright. It's not in perfect nick, but it passes. That's fine. I don't need to replace that just yet. But it's always good to check, huh? The next part to remove is the crankshaft breather hose, or PCV hose. And to do that, there's I think it's a 15mm bolt holding it into the cylinder head just down here. So to do that, we need to disconnect the oil pipes that run into the PCV. And your next one is this here. Come off, and then that reveals this bolt here, which is holding on the PCV hose. But before you do that, you might want to disconnect this sensor here so you don't break it. And that one, it looks like you just squeeze it from below and it pulls off like that. Get that one out of the way, and then you can take this bolt out here. Now this one, you only need to get a couple of turns on with the socket, and it's pretty loose, and you can take it out by hand, which is nice because it's very awkward. With that, you take that bolt out, watch out that you've got the washer, and then this just needs moving to the side really. It needs tucking up here, and then it can rest on that sensor. At this point, we've moved enough out of the way to reveal the CHT sensor. So this here is your engine block, and for reference, if you're ever looking for your engine code and the engine is not the original one that came with the van, you will find the engine code stamped onto the engine block just down here. But just above your engine block is your cylinder head, and that right there is where the CHT sensor goes. And now if I show you the new one, you can see that it's got a brass end to it. And the one that broke, well, this snapped out of it. So before I do anything, I got to remove the brass bit, which is easy enough. The difficult bit is going to be fixing this one in. You'll see why in a sec. So as I said, removing the old broken sensor is easy enough because I can just slot the 15mm ratchet on there and loosen it off. But when you're putting the new one on, well, you've got the sensors attached to it, which means that you won't be able to do that. So there we go. There's the broken end of the old sensor. Okay, so getting the new one in, starting it off, if you see here, you can actually spin the end of the sensor independently of the wire. See here, the wire stays the same, which makes it a lot easier, and then you won't damage the cable. So let's pop that in place, but I really need this split socket. Actually feeling easier to get both hands in. I've got my right index finger on the brass fitting, and then I've got my thumb and index finger of my left hand on the domed black part that can spin independently. And then what I'm doing is I'm just turning everything together and then twisting the black bit back. And I think it might be going in. Yeah, I think that's in. You may well want to get the air intake hose back across like this into where the airbox goes so that you've got room to move your spanner. I should just be able to nip it up now. Ah, there we go. Yes, we're tightening up here. And I think one more gentle one. It's only 20 Newton meters for tightness here. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then we can just get that through there. And we're done. So now it's just a case of moving everything back into place. So first it's the PCV hose. It wants moving over. Then we can get that bolted back in. We can clip the sensor back in, put all the pipes back on. Then at that point, before we put the airbox back in and hook the air intake hose back up, we're going to find the correct connector, the other end of the electrical connector, so we can plug the CHT sensor in. Right, so now I've got everything hooked back up, and I've got this connector here, there's the one left over, and that is going to go straight in with my new sensor, which I've lost. Which is somewhere here. So this is the sensor, and this is the wiring for it. And then they're going to go together. There. And there. Now I've got to work out where they actually sit. So see here, that piece there, that's where I'm trying to clip this into. So on the underside, there's a locator pin and a clip on here. And that's where it looks as though this is meant to go. In there, and then push it down. Just clicks down in place. And that's great because it holds all the wires away off of the hot cylinder head and engine block. So that's all in now, so I'm going to test it. And ideally I'd just put the airbox straight back in and take it for a drive, but I've got to get this video for the van conversion released on YouTube. So I'm just going to fire up the engine and let it idle for a bit and wait for the temperature gauge to engage. Though thinking about it, one other thing that I didn't mention earlier that should tell me whether or not it's the repair has worked, without the temperature sensor, the fans come on automatically to try and make sure the engine's cool, because the van doesn't know how hot or cold the engine is, so the fans just come straight on. So when I fire up the engine, if the fans aren't running, then that's a pretty good sign. There's some other things going. Oh, it's going to sound like that because the air box isn't in. I better put that in first. Okay, that's all hooked back up. Let's try that again. Right, the fans are not running, so to me that means that the repair was a great success, and we will find out soon by watching the temperature gauge. I'm going to leave the van idling for a bit and go and upload my video. Right, let's have a look. Have we got anything on the temperature gauge? Maybe. I'm pretty sure that that is just registering, because if I turn the engine off, that drops down. So yes, in conclusion, the repair was a success. I hope you enjoyed this video, or that it was useful. It's not that fun, let's be honest. No one likes getting their hands dirty when they want to be kicking their feet up on a Saturday afternoon. But it's done. And yeah, I'm not sure what the next van repair video will be, but check out my channel. I've got playlists on my van conversion, which is basically done. I've just recently built a pull-out kitchen. There's a few videos on that. I've got my house series that I've been filming loads but not putting videos up, but there's ones to come on there. So yeah, there's lots to come up on this channel, and of course then there's the playlist of all my other Transit Connect maintenance videos. So go check out my channel, give it a subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, leave a comment if you've got questions, and I'll see you next time. Bye.